The topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Good morning, Tampa. Welcome to another Ask the Expert show where we bring you the top experts in the areas of financial, legal, home improvement, health. And what we do here is, I don't even consider this a info commercial. What we do is we educate you here. And the other half of it is, I don't want you choosing somebody, especially in the field we're going to be talking about today, on who's got the nicest website, because that just doesn't hold true, because we're going to be talking about wealth management today. And with the way the economy is going, you need someone that you can really count on. And our expert, who's been with us for several years now, I am so pleased that we have him. It is one of my easiest shows to do in all of our cities. Let me welcome you, Ray Ferrari. Good morning, Ray.
Steve. Good morning, Steve. I hope you had a great Father's Day.
Yes, I got to tell you, Ray, we do all sorts of shows, not just in Tampa, but Fort Lauderdale, Orlando, Houston, Dallas. This is one of the shows that I always look forward to, because you really, when you break it down, you don't talk over people's heads. And every time we do a show, I come out thinking I'm so much more educated. And that's really what we're trying to do. So hats off to your communication skills. We are going to be talking about wealth management today. And because we are getting so many new listeners and viewers every week, tell people about yourself and your company, Ray.
Well, Steve, first of all, thank you very much for those kind words.
From the heart.
Appreciate it. So Provise Management Group is a financial planning firm and investment management firm with the emphasis on financial planning. Because we see investment management as a subset of actually having a plan. Just like we think insurance, college education funding, retirement planning, estate planning, all of those are subsets of an overall financial plan. We've got offices in two locations, in Clearwater and then in the West Shore area in Tampa. We've got 14 advisors backed up by a wonderful staff of 17 folks. So it's a very low client to advisor ratio, serving about 1,400 clients in 34 states and managing approximately $1.6 billion. Been around for 37 years come this August, and just a wonderful group of people to work with, an equally wonderful group of clients.
Ray, what does it feel like you manage people's finances? That's a big responsibility. What does it feel like to have that kind of responsibility in your hands?
Steve, it is not a responsibility that we have ever taken lightly. No matter how much a person has, it's what they have, and it's meaningful and important to them. And so we try to honor that with each and every client in managing their portfolios on an individual basis, which with computers today, we can do that very effectively. It is a scary proposition when you're managing $1.6 billion. And let's say the market goes up or down 1% during a given day. That's $16 million up or down. When you see that, you put in perspective how much money that really is, and you think in terms of a bull market or a bear market. Over a sustained period of time, you can watch swings of 20% up or down, as we have seen over our 37 years. 20% of that number works out to be about $300 million. So it's a scary but rewarding responsibility, and we embrace it. And historically, we've been able to do very well by our clients.
Were you surprised at all that the Feds didn't take an increase on interest rates at all this time?
Steve, we were not surprised with the pause. What we were a little surprised with was not the fact that they said they may raise interest rates in the future this year, but how hawkish they seemed, particularly in Chairman Powell's remarks in the press conference that followed. I want to point out to people, though, that as hawkish as it sounded, he was referring to what people on the open committee are thinking. And the consensus thinking is that they may have to raise one or two more times. Now, it's important to understand that is a consensus. That is not a forecast. That is not saying it's going to happen. It simply says that given what they know today, they're thinking they're going to have to do that. We will have additional information available to the Fed when they meet in July. There'll be both the producer price index that'll be out, the PCE, which is their favorite measure of inflation. CPI will be out. Unemployment numbers will be out for the month of June. And all of that will give the Fed some additional data points. At the moment, we feel that one more hike might be in order, but two seems very remote. And why do we feel that way? So far, the Fed has been able to engineer towards what is referred to as a soft landing, and that is where they slow the economy down without driving it into recession. Our sense is that two more interest rates has a significantly higher probability of driving the economy into a recession than one more, which still keeps the Fed funds rate around 5.5% to 5.75%. I think the economy can absorb that. But if they take it another half a point higher, that's going to be a real concern. So they're going to get more information. I just want to point out to everybody, it's not a guarantee that they're going to do that. That's just a consensus. It's the way they feel today, not the way they're thinking, not a prediction of what's going to happen.
Well, I'd like to talk today a little bit about Social Security and what's going on with Social Security. I understand that the increase this year will not be very big. And then I heard that there's a proposal in Congress to raise the age for full retirement benefits. What say you?
Well, you are hearing correctly, Steve. The initial inflation adjustment for Social Security this year is a very meager 2.4%. And I say a meager 2.4% in view of the fact that inflation is still running over 4%. Last year, of course, Social Security recipients got something north of an 8% increase, which seemed very much in line with the inflation rate at 9% a year ago this month. So the 2.4% is a bit confusing. But as I've said many times on the show, the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, which is the one we all read about and follow, is not the one that Social Security uses. They use a different gauge. And At the moment, that's their initial projection. I wouldn't be surprised to see it eke up a little bit between now and September when the final number is announced, but I don't think it's going to be very high, which will be very disappointing for those that are on Social Security,
Yes.
because obviously the cost of living is going to be much higher than the 2.4%. As to the proposal that some Republicans in the House have proposed, raising the full retirement age from 67 to 69. The fact of the matter is we have to make some changes to Social Security. And if we don't, it's projected that by 2033, 10 years from now, only a decade, the Social Security will have run out of its trust fund, and that benefits, the projection is, would have to be cut by 20%. There's only a few ways to solve this problem. You have to increase revenue. That means increase Social Security taxes. You have to think in terms of raising the age for people. And then the other is to reduce the benefit. None of those are decent choices or choices that any of us really want to look at. But the fact is, this can has been kicked down the road for several decades, knowing what was coming. Raising it from 67 to 69 is kind of the easiest of the three alternatives. It would mean people who start Social Security at age 62 would have a lower benefit than they have today, because each month that you take it prior to full retirement age, which is currently 67, there's a reduction. Taking it to 69 for 2 more years, eased in over time, would delay people from thinking about retirement. And Steve, the fact is there are lots of people delaying retirement for a variety of reasons today. And people are living longer, as we talked about on last week's show. And so a lot of people are choosing to continue to work a longer period of time. So if it's properly eased in so that it doesn't affect people who are right around the corner from retiring, let's say those that are 50 and above, then let's face it, we've got to do something, because the problem is going to be worse if we do nothing. And getting through this with no pain is just not going to happen. So we'll have to see the details of the plan, understand what they're going to do. But clearly, of all of the choices to reform Social Security, raising the full retirement age from 67 to 69 over time probably is the easiest medicine we can take.
Ray, is there a difference between how you do business now with your clients versus, say, 5 years ago?
There really isn't, Steve. We have always approached working with people first and foremost that we want to have some type of a written financial plan. For some people, that could just be bullet points on one page of paper, because they don't have complicated situations. It's particularly true with younger clients that we might have. Or it can be a much more extensive report. But that first step in the relationship is understanding goals, objectives for folks, writing that plan, and then moving forward. One of the things that we've had to do over the years is to project those plans for a longer period of time, because people are living longer. And we're going to be doing a upcoming webinar for our clients and friends in July to talk about longevity and how we use how we do financial planning with longevity in mind. The fastest growing cohort in America today are people turning 100, and having just turned 76 a couple of weeks ago. I'm looking forward to another 24 years from now so that I can say I'm a century old instead of 3/4 of a century old, Steve.
When is your Ray? You have a date set?
We do not have the date set. It'll be sometime during probably the third week of July. And when we do our show in another couple of weeks, we'll have that firmed up and be sure to let everybody know.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great way to let people know. And, I'm seeing more and more wealth management firms across the country starting to do more and more seminars, and they're really well represented, the amount of people who go to the seminars. So it gives you something to look forward to. But we will let everybody know time, date, where they can go for your seminar, because I think it's really important that people understand what's going on out there.
Steve, just to be clear, it's not going to be a seminar. It's going to be a webinar. We're going to do it. Webinar. You're going to do it in the comfort of your home, just like folks that are listening or seeing the show today, so that everybody can just relax and be comfortable. And since we do it in the late afternoon, perhaps you'll even have an adult beverage in your hand while you listen to how you can live a long life.
Hey, let's go to Susan in Tampa. Ray, she wants to know if she should participate in the 401k at work. She says she just graduated, and this is her first job. Welcome to taxes, Susan.
Welcome to life. Steve, Susan, I have to say to you, well, first of all, congratulations on completing your college education and getting a job. And to the extent that you are able to save any money at all within a 401k plan, right now it is the best place for you to be investing and saving money, other than an emergency and an opportunity fund. Hopefully, your employer is going to match your contribution. So if you put in $1, it's actually immediately going to be, worth more than just that. And it will also be the first dollar you ever invest, which means it'll have the longest time to grow. And with compound interest being what it is and the way it is, that's the dollar that will grow the most over the rest of your working life. And Susan, let me say to you that saving money is a lot like exercising. It's what we all know we should be doing, but we're always going to start tomorrow. And so don't wait for tomorrow. Start today. Start into the 401k plan. The only thing that happens is, of course, if you delay exercising or you delay savings, when you go back to exercising, if you exercise too much too fast, it hurts and you quit. And you're no better off. Same thing's true with saving. If you don't start early and you're trying to catch up, it can hurt. And then you stop saving. So, Susan, a long answer to a great question. Yes, invest whatever you can, even if it's a very modest, say $50 or $100 a pay period.
Ray, I got to, and we're having little technical difficulties now. I think we're having some really bad weather. We were just talking about this, but Ray and I, a lot of times we'll talk about either college athletes, professional athletes. And I got to tell you, Ray, it's not funny, but when these pro players get this big contract and they get that first check and they go, what is all this being taken out? What is that for? I mean, they're like shocked. And Ray and I have talked about that they should have programs out there where they educate these athletes for when they go out in the real world.
Well, Steve, back in the 1990s, I was fortunate enough to work with the NFL Players Association to help them develop some education programs for the professional athletes in football. Other leagues have now advanced the same kind of ideas to provide financial literacy to these young men and women as they come out and hopefully have graduated from college. But even if they have, most have not gotten any financial instruction about life. And I point out that the average football player only is in the league for a little over 3 years. Now,
right.
To put that in perspective, that includes the Tom Brady's of the world that were in the league for almost a quarter of a century before he bowed out of the game. So that's just the average. That means that obviously there's some that are only in the league for a year or two, and the vast majority are in that category. So those big checks,
right.
It's great to get that big check, but unless you're one of those superstars who's going to continue to get it, and even if you're one of those superstars, you want to be intelligent with the money. And for the young adults that are in college for name, image, and likeness, NIL as it's referred to, this is especially true. The first time to get a large check, whether, large is a relative term, Steve. Maybe it's only $10,000.
Yes, right.
But a lump sum like that for somebody who maybe only had a few $100s in their bank account, if anything at all, that's a significant amount of money. And obviously some of these young adults are getting a whole lot more money. So hopefully the schools will step up. We have volunteered our services, both at my alma mater at the University of Maryland and here in Tampa at University of South Florida, to work with any of these athletes on a pro bono basis, to assist them and to help them make good choices early on. And we're happy to do this as a contribution back to the community and to the lives of these young athletes.
That is such a smart move on your part, Ray, because unless you've experienced it like I have as a sports agent, it is so important. I mean, sometimes we forget these are just kids still. I mean, 21, 22 years old, and all of a sudden making $2, $3, $4 million a year. And then, like you say, it might only be for a year or two. And then it's over, because it's really, once it's over, it's kind of over. It's hard to get back into, whether it's basketball or football. But I'm so glad that you're doing that to help athletes. I hope many of them will take advantage of it. How does one know how much money they need in retirement to maintain their lifestyle?
Steve, it's a very complicated question, and as often is my world, I have to respond with, well, it depends. But let's look at some general rules of thumb. While everybody is interested, perhaps, in retiring with as much income that they had in their last year at work, which is probably the highest income they've ever made, folks need to understand they're not living on that. Let's take an example of somebody with $100,000 of income. The first thing is they're paying about 7.5% of that in Social Security taxes. So now we're down to $92,500. Hopefully they're putting some amount of money into their 401k, just as we talked about for Susan a few minutes ago. And let's say that's $10,000. So in that case, they're living on $82,500 of spendable cash, including taxes that need to be paid. And so that's the target number. Excuse me. That's the target number. And we all want it to be higher, but that's got to be at least the target number. Then the question becomes, well, where's the income going to come from? Well, the first place that we're going to look is to Social Security. And let's suppose that they're going to be getting $32,000 worth of Social Security in their retirement. So where's the other $50,000 going to be coming from in the cash flow? Well, it's going to have to come from their savings and retirement planning that they've done. And so how much do they need in order to create $50,000 worth of income? Using the 4% rule, if you multiply that $50,000 by 25, that's the amount of money that they would need in order to have saved to comfortably withdraw 4% and provide the extra 50,000. So at 50,000, 25 times that number is $1.25 million. That's what they need as their target in retirement. So the first thing is look at what you're actually bringing home and what you're actually living on. Subtract out your Social Security, take whatever's left over, multiply it by 25, and if you've reached that target, then you're in a very good spot.
We're talking about athletes. One of the things I recognized is baseball players. Some kids get drafted out of high school. Some kids get drafted and decide not to go on to college and go on to pro, where they really don't make a lot of money in the minor leagues. But usually dad is the one representing them. And it is so important, especially with the kind of money they can make, that budget for retirement is so important. And if you don't have a good quality money advisor, financial advisor, you can blow a lot of money. Is it hard putting people on a budget, Ray?
Is it hard to put people on a budget? Unfortunately, most people are not on a budget, and they're not on a budget because it is hard to be on a budget. And even when you have a budget, I always talk about those sneakers that you have in that budget, and those are things that sneak in on you, not the tennis shoes that you put on your feet. You go out to dinner, and instead of getting a $25 bottle of wine, you say, I'm going to treat myself. I'm going to take $50 or more. So having a budget is a good thing. And what we suggest, Steve, is that people, when they do their budgeting, they divide it into two pieces. Divide it into the fixed budget. That is those things that you need to have. Those, whatever, paying your taxes, paying for insurance, paying for your mortgage, paying for internet and cable TV, et cetera, the needs to have. And those are the fixed expenses that you have. And then on the other side, you have those variable expenses. How many nights are you going to eat out? How many clubs are you going to join, whether it's just a exercise club or a country club, whatever it may be. So divide it into two pieces. Make sure you've got that fixed well taken care of. Don't deviate from it. And then on the variable side, you have some flexibility as to how you spend more or less, knowing that you're going to have a comfortable life because you've got the fixed expenses done.
I'm going to ask you probably the hardest question I've asked you today, but so important. Why should I hire your firm?
Excuse me, Steve. Well, when I don't feel well, I go to a doctor. I don't try to treat myself. If I were to have a legal issue, I'm not going to try to represent myself in court. I'm going to hire a lawyer. And I could go down the list. If I'm going to do something electrical in my home, God knows I am not going to fix the electricity in the house. I'm going to hire an electrician to come do it. Most people, as we talked about before, don't have the experience to really deal with their money, the education to do it. Hiring a professional to help them isn't an expense. It's an investment in their future. And specifically why Provise? Well, for the last 37 years, we have been an SEC registered investment advisor working as a fiduciary, having to put our clients' best interest first and foremost. And not all advisors are required by law to do it. We do it because we're required by law, but more because that's our value. The most important thing that we can do is to continue to have that value, putting the client's interest always ahead of our own.
Well, I love how you do business, Ray. Let's give out your phone number for the people who are listening online, because if they are watching today's show, they can see your phone number. What is the phone number and your website address?
The website address is Provise, Provise.com, Provise.com. And our toll-free number, regardless of where you are in the country, and as I mentioned earlier, we're in 34 states, is 800-633-3673. 3049. That's 800-633-3049.
And like we talked about before, you've got a webinar coming up, and we will let everybody know how they can get involved in that for next month. Ray, it's always a pleasure to have you on, and we will see you in a couple weeks.
In the meantime, be safe and be well.
Take care. God bless. That was Ray Ferrara. He's with Provise, just an incredible company when it comes to wealth management. I love the way he communicates it. I mean, it doesn't matter. You just understand where he's coming from. And not all people who are in the wealth management area, the arena, are all like that. So I love that we've got Ray and how he explains everything. That's it for today's show. We'll be back with you again next Monday at 9 o'clock with more Ask the Experts. We've got some incredible experts coming up. Everybody have a wonderful week. We'll see you soon. God bless.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.